Hey guys, I'm the one you lost, and I'll be showing you how I drew this picture of Gigi from HOLOLIVE. So, this particular artwork was a continuation of my studies on a brand new style I'm working on, and it's kind of a mix of like oil painting and watercolor. So, the goal is to add a ton of colors, more than I usually do. In fact, it's kind of like peppering colors everywhere. But for the most part, it's one of those things where I have to draw the character with the background I have in mind, then adjust as I go. So this one is kind of an easier background. It's a staircase. Now, staircases may seem a little bit tricky, but they're not actually as tricky as they look. The best way I can put it is staircases are in equal spacing apart, and as long as you can visually get the equal spacing correctly, you should be good. So here I'm drawing the character's outline first, and then I'm adding the steps on top of what I already have. And you may be wondering why I'm not using snap to grid or a perspective ruler, and that's because I want it to look organic. Now, organic involves almost no perfect lines. So I have to basically go and edit it as I go using either the liquify tool or just using quick flicks of the wrist, or actually more of the elbow. We're going to use the elbow to go straight up to get much straighter lines, and we're going to zoom out on the drawing, that way we can get our whole elbow working with it. Now, you'll notice whenever I made this particular artwork that I didn't get the feet perfectly, and that's because I was not using a reference for like the stairs. So basically I had to like adjust the legs as I went to make sure I actually get it right. But it was one of those things that it took a little bit of while to get it perfect, but it's still not 100%. But it's close enough to where most people won't notice. Now, we are getting to the point where we're drawing the clothes and we're adding the details to the character. And whenever we do that, we're going to then move on to some rendering and getting everything in, and I will be explaining my process more in depth there, because that's actually the tricky part. Now, the shoes, I suck at drawing shoes, so I had to look up a reference for some shoes to draw, and I'm going to be real, I still suck at drawing shoes. I got a lot of work I got to go before I get any good at it. Multiple angles of shoes are very difficult, so getting it to look like the same shoe was actually quite challenging. And my advice when it comes to learning how to draw shoes is just buckle down, try your best to replicate what you see, and if you need to cry, cry. But we have kind of her tail kind of draping over the steps a bit, and we're doing the same thing with the little mascot character Grem that Gigi has. And we're just kind of laying the tail flat on the step, where we're kind of making the body like look almost like it's falling down the stairs. So, poor Grem. Hopefully the fall is gentle for you. But I would like to say, if you enjoy my videos and my tutorials, it would help me out a whole lot if you left a like, comment, let me know what you want, subscribe, hit the bell, you know the nonsense, you know what we have to say whenever we make videos. But yeah, I would actually appreciate that a whole lot if you were able to do that. It helps me out a whole lot, and thank you. So, you'll notice that I draw guides only for the face, because the face is something that you can easily get wrong. So, I tend to draw the eyes, make sure they're exactly an eye length apart from each other, as is real human anatomy. Even though the face is a little bit wider in anime, that way you can make the eyes a bit bigger. In terms of hair, we're going for like longer hair Gigi, which she doesn't have a model that has longer hair. So, it can be kind of tricky getting a longer haired design on a short-haired character, because you got to make it look just like her, and that's not always easy. Whew, it's a whole lot I have to keep track of, and it's one of those things that I'm doing my best to keep track of things as best I can. But whenever you're making artworks like this, it takes a whole lot. Stretching a bit. So now we're adding the base colors, and with the base colors, we are trying to kind of match and color correct as we go. I'm going for more of a yellow look, which is what the character typically has. And that's kind of basically my guide for this whole thing, is add like white and yellow, very, very basic colors. And that's pretty much all I'm doing here in terms of picking colors. I'm picking things that are within the same color wheel, meaning I wanted this entire artwork to be warm, and the cool colors I want to be the shadows. So for the most part, most of this is going to be warm colors, and that's about it. So, one second. Oh god, allergy season is killing me right now. But yeah, now we have the basic idea. We're adding the first tone in the hair before we add the highlights. So we have the basic idea here, and now we're adding the highlight tone, which is going to be on a layer above. I actually hit Control and then click on the layer below to lock transparency to that particular color that I already have for the base color. Oh, now we're actually adding little details here, getting the eyes in, and we're going to start adding some to the mouth there. And now we're going to start coloring the background. Now, whenever I do the background, I like to render it all in one go. And the reason why is it kind of gives me a baseline for how the rendering should be. Sometimes I don't always follow that rule. I don't quite remember if I followed it this time, but I'm pretty sure I did. We're adding kind of some extra added colors here to kind of get it going. Now we're adding kind of the background, which is that very deep blue, which provides everything we need to like make the focus on the character. Because if you'll notice, we actually have all lines converging onto the character so that we all make sure we're looking at the place we want the viewer to look. Now, in terms of the background, we are just kind of adding a blue shadow, adding multiple colors to it because things look better with multiple colors, and especially if you're doing a almost oil painting, watercolor-like style. This is more of an oil painting style where the colors are more vivid, is the best way I can put it. But that's the basic idea here. We are going for cool and warm shadows depending on if more sunlight is touching it or not. I have a tree line brush I use, and then I kind of add a border effect to the trees. That way we have like kind of lines made without actually having to make lines, if that makes sense. Here's the clouds, and now we're adding kind of the tree effects in the brush. Now we're adding a multiply layer to all of the character folder for Gigi, and we're just kind of erasing things and light carving. So erasing a multiply layer and adding all that is known as light carving. I love doing it. We adjust the colors to kind of be more saturated. We're going to start adding effects and kind of some glow into the character. And we're adjusting colors based on if I feel they work or not. So now we're adding little details everywhere to kind of finalize everything. And we're actually getting pretty close to the end of the artwork, surprisingly enough. The rendering I tend to do super fast. Everything else kind of goes by the wayside. We're adding little details to kind of enhance everything. More colors, some add glow, changing other colors to kind of make it blend a bit more. Some foreground and background elements, and we're going to kind of glow it out, make it kind of a lens blur. Now we're adding the post-processing to really make the colors pop to life. And that is pretty much, we are getting close to the very end. It's just kind of adding little details now to kind of make it fully complete. So I would actually recommend that after you feel you're finished with something, you take a break and you come back to it, because you'll actually find there's a lot more you can do. And that's typically how I do my artworks, is after I feel like I'm finished, I go back in and I redo a bunch of things and kind of add little details to everything. But that's how I made this artwork. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.